Well, we're all out of orange-flavored Tang.
Golly, the grape flavor's gone, too.
Listen, why don't I go to the earth and get some more?
Yeah?
I could trade them some rocks.
Rocks? For an instant breakfast drink with more vitamin C than orange juice?
Sure. I'll be right back.
What is vitamin C anyway?
Well, I'm back.
You got both orange and grape flavored Tang.
For a bag of rocks.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I wonder if there's intelligent life on that planet.
Hey, who's got the answer?
Well, it's DJ. Yeah, the ant. And it's DJ. Yeah, the ant.
Welcome to another episode of All Nostalgic Television, and welcome to the secret hidden underground ant cave, along with the Wayback Time Machine. I'm your television jockey, Doug Heim. Well, this episode of All Nostalgic Television is all about local Green Bay television news. When and how did it all start? And how did it evolve into what it is today? Well, believe it or not, there was a time when there was no television news in northeastern Wisconsin. Actually, there was no television at all. Zippo, nada, nothing. But that all changed on Tuesday, March 17th, 1953. At 7 p.m. that evening, for the first time ever, WBAY Channel 2 begins broadcasting from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Good evening, friends. We are pleased to have you join us.
It is estimated there were up to 60,000 television sets and 200,000 households in the viewing area at the time. 9.5 months later, in January of 1954, WNAM-TV signs on the air. They were broadcasting on UHF Channel 42, but its life was short-lived. By the end of 1954, WNAM-TV suspended operations. But around the same time Channel 42 was going dark, on September 10th, 1954, WMBV Channel 11 joins the airwaves. And 8 months after that, on May 20th, 1955, WNAM-TV reemerges as WFRV Channel 5. 4 years later, in 1959, WMBV Channel 11 changed their call letters to WLUK. So, when did local TV news begin in northeastern Wisconsin? The answer? All three began providing local news and weather programming the very first day each one signed on the air. Almost overnight, all three TV stations became an integral part of the community. But before there was any local television news, people got their news by newspaper and radio. But if you wanted news with moving pictures and sound, you'd have to go watch the newsreel news in movie theaters. Here's a short 1955 Universal International newsreel clip about a guy in Milford, Michigan that invented a flying car.
This is a convertible, but not the kind you think. Leland Bryan has fashioned himself a car. At least it's a car when it's on the ground. And it goes spinning along the highway with a pusher airplane propeller doing the pushing at speeds up to 50 miles an hour. But when he gets to an airport, it's a different story. That car you saw scooting along the road begins to sprout wings with the aid of Bryan's brother. The wings, which have been folded along the sides, are attached, and the convertible is ready for the wild blue yonder. With a 40-horsepower motor, it takes to the air. Not bad for a $300 job. No bumper-to-bumper traffic for him.
The inventor in that newsreel clip is Leland Dewey Bryan. On August 2nd, 1972, Dewey, as his friends called him, dies when he crashes his car airplane at EAA in Oshkosh. Well, guess what? You're about to see the local TV news report of that crash that aired on TV 11 News that very night. And not only that, you'll also see everything that went on behind the scenes in making that report. So, let's get things started by setting the Wayback Machine to the year 1978 for this episode's mystery picture. It's an extreme close-up of something, but what? See if you can guess what it is. I'll slowly zoom out and give you clues throughout the episode. And I'll give you the answer at the end. This 1978 photo is of something that was invented in the 1930s in the state of Massachusetts. It was created to make certain activities safer and more comfortable. More clues coming later. What you were about to see next hasn't been broadcast for over 50 years. In August of 1974, WLUK TV 11 News aired a special program about what goes on behind the scenes in local television news. It was titled TV 11 News at Ease. It was hosted by news reporter at the time, Gil Bittner. I must warn you, the video is old and it isn't the best quality. I'm just glad the recording survived it all after all these years. So let's head back to August 1974.
WLUK, TV 11, Green Bay.
Hi, I'm Gil Bittner, and this is the TV 11 Newsroom. I hope you'll stay with us for the next hour because we're going to show you some things you've never seen before. We're going to show you how a news operation works, how we put together a story from start to finish. We're going to show you a news story that never made it on the air because the reporter chickened out at the last minute. And we're going to show you some of our mistakes, our bloopers, the things that usually end up on the editing room floor. But most of all, in the next hour, we hope you'll get to know us a little bit better, the reporters and the photographers who spend their time trying to keep you informed. For the next hour, you'll see TV 11 News at ease. The newsroom is a quiet place at night. Not much going on. Just the endless chatter of the teletype and occasional blurbs from the police monitor. But you can tell by the clutter in this room that it's a busy place in the daytime. This is where reporters' work starts and finishes. It begins in the morning with an idea and it ends up with a report on the 6 o'clock news. We'd like to show you how a typical story is covered. About 2 weeks ago, a call came into this newsroom and the caller said an airplane had crashed at the Experimental Aircraft Association convention in Oshkosh. Within minutes of the phone call, a news crew was on its way to Oshkosh, about 1 hour of driving time from the station. The reporter who would cover the story was Jack Ahern, along with TV 11's chief photographer, Pat Crowell. They'd be brought up to date on new developments through radio contact with the news department, where other members of the staff were making calls to learn as much as possible about the crash.
We just heard a bulletin on WNAM. Apparently, there's one dead for sure and maybe more by the sounds of it.
Okay, I got some information for you. No, there is not more than one dead. One person only dead already. His name is Dewey Bryan. B-R-Y-A-N. Dewey Bryan. We have film of him. He is one of the guys that Jim Douglas did the story with on Wednesday. He is dead. It happened at the south end of the field. They've already removed the wreckage from that point, but we don't know where they took it. You read.
Was he the guy that was flying that gyrocopter?
Not exactly a gyrocopter. It's the one that was like a car and a plane.
Is that the one that crashed then? That car plane thing?
That's right. You might see if you can get some eyewitnesses. They say that the people who saw it say that the left wing of the plane folded while it was in flight. It was on a flyby pattern, and the left wing folded in flight and then crashed about 1,000 feet north of the approach end or the south end of the airport.
It's now almost noon. Jack and Pat arrive at the EAA convention at Whitman Field in Oshkosh. Their problem is to get someone to talk about the accident on film, an eyewitness if possible, and to get pictures of the wreckage, which has already been moved from the site of the crash. Their first stop is EAA headquarters, press headquarters. There they are told that little is known about what happened. The woman they talk with says she is unaware of who may have seen the crash and that she does not know where the wreckage was taken. She gives Pat and Jack press passes so they can move freely on the flight line. And so the footwork begins. More than half of a reporter's time is taken up trying to find someone who can contribute something to his story. Pat and Jack locate two men who work for the FAA, the agency that investigates fatal air crashes. They learn where the wreckage has been taken.
You might possibly get over there by that farmer's yard that's over here where the red barn is, and you might be able to see it in behind there, but I wouldn't guarantee it. Okay, thank you very much.
But knowing where the wreckage is one thing, and finding a way to get there is another. The newsmen find an EAA official who can arrange transportation, and also knows an eyewitness, a pilot who works for Beatty Aircraft, who saw the crash.
There is an eyewitness who's the Beatty Aircraft. With Beatty Aircraft, I recognize him by that. I don't remember his name.
The time is now approximately 1 o'clock. The crew has been on the scene for 1 hour and still has not exposed a single foot of film for their story. They find the Beatty pilot who witnessed the fatal crash, but he refuses to go on film and explain what he saw. The pilot was unaware of a second camera filming as he declined the interview.
Like I understand, I'm not seeing what I've heard is the wing folded area. That's part of the yeah, for our business, we need, we can't go by rumors. We need people saying it. Yeah. I'm sure Paul will, except that he's not an eyewitness. Very important for us to understand that.
The footwork continues. They know they can film the wreckage, but an eyewitness is crucial to the story. Shortly after 2, they find another one after talking to dozens of people. He agrees to a filmed interview and describes what he saw.
Hit the ground pretty hard. I said to myself, the guy
So any flames at all?
Next, they seek out Paul Poberezny, the president of the EAA, to question him about the safety of home-built aircraft and the safety of the convention at Oshkosh.
Here and see America. Oh, I wouldn't consider it dangerous at all. We've never really had as many airplanes flying like this since World War II. And fellows spaced themselves. They used the basic flight rules that they were taught and get along quite well.
Poberezny, along with the eyewitness, formed two key ingredients of the story. TV-11 had filmed the plane 2 days before it crashed. Now it was necessary to show what remained. As Pat filmed the wreckage, Jack must decide how to incorporate the pictures into his final story. The footwork is finished. It is now just past 3 o'clock. The process of covering a news story is halfway completed. The newsmen head back for the studio in Green Bay.
KG 969301, a news bunker.
Covering the news allows little time out for eating. Reporters and photographers are steady customers of fast food establishments when they have time to eat at all. The menu today, quarter-pound hamburgers and French fries, much the same as yesterday and probably the same tomorrow. Pat and Jack arrive back at the station at 4:15, and now the real work begins. During the drive back from Oshkosh, they've been discussing the story, how to present the film, how much of the interviews they can use. In the next hour, it all has to be assembled into a neat, short, on-the-air package. Pat takes the film to the photo lab to be processed. Jack goes to the newsroom to discuss the story with Chris Ostrowski, the producer.
The interviews, the guy who saw it coming down the runway was probably the weakest.
Dump him.
Because he just said, it appeared that he was doing all right.
Then you can type that in. It appeared to other spectators as they were watching the plane that there was no problem. But when all of a sudden, the plane crashed, other people were watching. This guy saying this is what happened.
In the photo lab, the film is being developed, winding its way through the processor until the chemicals bring out the images from Oshkosh. Jack comes in to check the progress and see that the film is good, to reassure himself that the scenes he wants to use are properly exposed, that he'll be able to edit the film the way he had planned. Then he returns to the newsroom to write his story. He's concerned with far more than a newspaper reporter would be. For television, Jack must write an introduction for the anchorman, film instructions for the director, as well as taping the part of the story that he himself will tell. He does that in the audio booth.
The plane was experimental. The wings folded up and it became a car. It was licensed to drive on the highway as well as fly. Some spectators who watched the takeoff said it looked normal. It was climbing steadily and looked all right. At first it was thought one of the bolts that held the wings in a flying position was not...
Jack has reached the final step in assembling his story, editing the film so that everything fits together, the introduction, the interviews, and his own taped report of how and why the fatal crash took place. The time now is 4:45. He has 45 minutes to finish. Jack will look at all the film from Oshkosh, select what he wants to use, and throw away about 80% of the day's work. In the brief span of about 2 minutes, he has to show and tell all he learned about the crash. When he's finished, the film goes to a projectionist in the control room, and just after 6, it goes on the air.
At about 10:15 this morning, Dewey Ryan of Highland, Michigan, was taking off from the EAA convention at Whitman Field in Oshkosh. His home-built aircraft, called the Ryan Roadable, suddenly crashed, killing Dewey Bryan. An eyewitness explains what he saw.
Roland, take A. Advance 7. Flip your mirror for the B-roll super out. Stand by dissolve B. Dissolve B. Stand by cart 1 fall.
The director follows Jack's script to call out the instructions for audio and video sources. The complexities of this room, the television control room, are unseen and unknown to the viewer at home. The buttons and switches these men control bring the finished product to your home screen. And one floor below, in the newsroom, Jack Ahern and Pat Colo are watching too, to judge how well they did their day's work. How well did they do their work? Let's take a look at the finished product, the way it appeared on the air that night.
A little after 10 o'clock this morning, Dewey Bryan from Highland, Michigan, was taking off from the EAA convention at Whitman Field in Oshkosh. His home-built aircraft, known as the Bryan Roadable, suddenly crashed, and Bryan was killed. An eyewitness describes what he saw.
I was watching it as it was climbing. All of a sudden, the left wing went up, and it started diving to the left. And everybody watched it, and they're yelling, "There's a crash!" And all of a sudden, it just veered down to the left and hit the ground pretty hard. And I said to myself, "The guy's a goner."
Were there any flames at all?
No flames, no smoke. Just hit pretty hard, very hard.
The plane was experimental. The wings folded up and it became a car. It was licensed to drive on the highway as well as fly. Some spectators who watched the takeoff said it looked normal. He was climbing steadily and looked okay. This is what the plane looked like before the crash. Last Wednesday, TV 11's Jim Douglas talked to Dewey Bryan about his roadable plane.
I drove my roadable aircraft, which drives down the road about 40 miles an hour, and it's capable of being a pioneer effort in the roadable airplane.
At first, it was thought one of the bolts that held the wings in a flying position was not in place. But Paul Poberensny, president of the EAA, said it now appears that wasn't the case.
After looking into it further, we found that the old mechanism is connected, and it probably came apart during the crash.
With all the air traffic at the convention, it should be noted that the crash was not a result of a traffic problem. It appears the crash was the result of a structural failure. This is TV 11 News in Oshkosh. I'm Jack Ahern.
In just a minute, we'll show you a story that didn't get on the air because at the very last minute, the reporter chickened out. It's about acupuncture.
It's time for another clue to this episode's mystery picture. This is a 1978 extreme close-up of something that was invented in the 1930s. It was created to make certain activities safer and more comfortable. You can get them in a wide array of shapes, colors, and designs. More clues and the answer coming later. And now back to TV 11 News at Ease. Remember, this program hasn't been broadcast since August of 1974.
We've shown you how a typical story is covered and presented. Now we'd like to show you one that never got on the air. A couple weeks ago, Mary Chopin was sent out to cover a story. Mary, would you like to explain exactly what you were after?
Well, we decided to cover a man in Oostburg, Wisconsin, who is an acupuncture specialist. And our producers set the interview up for me and set the story up for me, and I kind of was in the dark and didn't really have a very good idea of what I'd be in store for.
Now, you were going to be the subject for acupuncture, right?
I certainly was, better known as a guinea pig.
What was the treatment for?
I thought I'd try and come up with an illness. I couldn't find one, so I decided maybe he could help me quit smoking.
Well, at any rate, that's not the way it turned out.
Sure isn't.
We decided that through acupuncture you might be able to help me stop smoking or whatever. Now, why? I noticed that, what's the treatment going to be like for that?
Well, you will see. What I'm going to do is insert some needles in your ears and also in your back.
What do my ears have to do with quit smoking?
Points that are used, there's sympathetic points right here and the lung points. And also 2 points in the back.
Well, what does my ear have to do with quitting smoking?
Well, I'll demonstrate here. There's a definite correlation between the parts of the body and the ear.
I see.
And it seems to be a nervous reflex, such that the parts of the body are reflected, and the reflex point on the ear.
Is acupuncture only limited to needles in the ear?
No.
All of it?
As a matter of fact, the acupuncture of the ear is something very new. It was discovered in France about 15 years ago.
Well, I'm terrified of needles. You know?
I am too. I usually faint when I see blood.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. But I'd like to quit smoking, and I'd like, lose maybe 5, 6, 10 pounds, and this will do it, huh?
This may or may not do it. It depends on the person. A good majority of people it works on fairly well.
Size me up. What do you think?
I can't tell. There's no way of knowing how it will work. The way we do it, and most other doctors do acupuncture, is you have to try it a few times. If you have no results by 2 or 3 times, it won't work.
All right. How long will you leave the needles in?
15 minutes.
3 minutes. Oh, I've got an appointment,
Now, we better take that cigarette away from you, Okay, if you want to sit down, we'll start.
All right.
Okay.
All right, now.
What do you have, a close-up lens on this?
I'm developing a fast nervous condition. I really am. I'll tell you something, Doctor. I am scared.
It's okay, I haven't done it before either, so I'm scared. Okay.
Ouch! Oh! Let's cut the turn the camera off.
You're laughing now, Mary. It wasn't so funny at the time, was it?
I didn't have a cigarette for days after that.
Well, maybe it does work. In all fairness to Dr. Lysak, we should point out that acupuncture, he has had success with acupuncture.
Yes, he has. As he mentioned before, it depends a great deal on the patient.
Did you know what you were in for when you went out on this?
I had no idea the needles would be in for 15 minutes. I'm the kind of person that gets a polio shot. I suffer from terminal cowardice.
Are you normally afraid of any kind of needles? Is that
yes,
what you're saying?
as generally speaking, I sure am. But
would you ever go back?
I'd either have to be have some sort of libation, I think, to give me the courage. I don't think so. I think for me, willpower, I think, is the answer.
Did you have a feeling after doing that story and not being able to complete it that you'd failed on your assignment? Were you bothered by not being able to complete the story?
Well, yes and no. I felt like I had let everyone down because they were expecting, to get kind of a...
I think it turned out better than if it was successful.
I hope so. I hope so.
You've ever had the feeling that maybe a story is misleading, incorrect, or just plain wrong? Well, you know what I'm talking about. We hear complaints like that all the time.
Well, I'm telling you, they told me that. I understand. Is it possible, in that gasoline and squad car fund, is it possible that they included your usual $300 for the rescue boat? Well, then I'll tell you what you do. You don't call me next time. You call up Mr. Tulowski and you straighten him out. Because he's got the wrong information. I don't. I have an obligation to put on both sides of a question. He apparently disagreed. That is my obligation. Now, you see what's happened here is we've raised the issue, and it's going to come out and get straightened out, if not tomorrow, next week. If we had not done that, if I had not put him on the screen, that, in fact, would not be the net result. And, in fact, you may get that money because of that piece.
That particular call was from Sheriff Kearns of Fond du Lac County. He was complaining about a story Colin did on the county's rescue boat. But we've had a lot more complaints about a lot of other stories, and probably the one this year at least that received the most was also a story done by Colin Sedor. It was a time, Colin, you interviewed, I'm sure you remember it, two young girls, one in particular, but there were two there, in Sheboygan Falls, right after their parents and their grandparents were killed in a murder-suicide case. Did you expect the fantastic reaction we had, the phone calls, the letters?
We got tremendous reaction, and I think it's probably fair to say, yeah, we did and I did expect that kind of reaction. It was a very hard story, and we knew that it was a very gutsy kind of story, and we were going to get a lot of phone calls, a lot of mail. We had to make a decision before the piece went on the air. We made it fully knowing that we were going to get that kind of reaction, but we had to stick by it at that point.
Okay, I'd like to read some excerpts from some of the letters we received and the viewers' reaction. These girls did not realize what had happened, and we feel as though you had used them to create sensationalism for your news. We feel your reporter used very poor taste in interviewing a little 8-year-old girl. There is no excuse for such action. How you can view this as news is more than I can understand. We believe that responsible journalists and competent news organizations would not resort, I'm sure he means resort, to this type of opportunism. Those people all had, I think, a legitimate complaint in a sense, but perhaps a misunderstanding. How do you answer them? What do you say?
Well, I answer them a number of ways, Gil. First of all, I say I sympathize, that I understand why they're saying those things, and that I want them to know that sitting there as close to those girls as I am to you, that, yes, you know, I felt all of the emotion I think that they did. You know, it was a strong moment for all of us, watching on the film, doing the interview itself. But, you know, all during that time I had to remember what my job was. We have a story about a mother, about a father, a grandmother, and a grandfather, all dying in the same morning within the space of 10 minutes. My job is to come back to the thousands of people in our viewing area and say, all right, folks, I'm going to tell you a story about Sheboygan Falls today, about a triple murder-suicide. It's not a very nice story. There's no way, in the best of my journalistic abilities, that I'm going to make this more palatable than it is.
All right.
It's horrible already. But the point is, it seems to me the point is that what I've got to do is not minimize the horror of the story. The facts are a policeman can give you. I can relate the details. But to fill that story out and give somebody an idea what it's like, murder, yes, terrible. Suicide, yes, terrible. All of those things horrible. But it's got to have some impact so people really understand what that story was about.
Do you feel, then, that the interview of these girls was essential to your story?
There's no way that I could communicate the sense, the emotion, the feeling, which is really what that story was about.
Okay, most of
as well as those girls.
Many of our complaints were that this would have a tremendous effect on these girls in later life, being on television. Do you agree with that?
No. I think the damage was done way before I got there. I'm sure those girls were not allowed to see that film. I'm convinced that that didn't hurt them all at all.
You don't feel you added to any of the problems?
I really don't. You know, the massive problems were there already before I got there, you know. I am simply saying, folks, you know, some father out there who has a bad night, a bad morning, that's going to buy a gun, I'm saying, stop, listen to a little girl's story. And maybe, you know, that's we hope in this business if we're truthful about communicating, but that'll stop somebody.
Colin, knowing all the reaction that we got after that story, if you were faced with the same decision again, would it be any different?
It would be just as hard, and yes, I'd do it again.
Thanks. In just a minute, we'll be showing you some more of our reporters, and we'll show you some of our mistakes that, if you feel are mistakes, we do, but are not certainly not as serious as this matter, and we'll be right back with more of TV 11 News at ease. This is the summer help at TV 11. Lynn Cullen, Jack Ahern, and Ross Buckberger. Lynn's a senior at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Jack just graduated from the University of Wisconsin Green Bay. Ross is a senior at the University of Wisconsin in Platteville. They're all summer interns here. Jack, for example, is just finding out, getting his start in the news business, just finding out that sometimes things aren't always that easy.
Yeah.
As of now, the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department hasn't arrested anyone. As of now, the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department hasn't made any arrests. Mike and his three As of now, the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department hasn't made any arrests. Mike and his three As of now, the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department hasn't made any arrests. Mike and his three
Larry Kaplan, even though he's only 12 years old, is really no different from the rest of us. Is that right? Larry Kaplan, even though he's only 12 years old, is really no different from the rest of us. He's only really... Larry Kaplan, even though he's only 12 years old, is really no different from the rest of us. He's maybe only free in his... Let's do that one. He's only... What am I doing?
What are you doing, Ross?
I didn't know what I was doing at the time, really. I got to a certain line and I went blank.
Yeah.
It happened six or eight
It
times.
happens to everybody, believe me, and it'll keep on happening until, for a long time, I assume.
It's so frustrating at the time, though.
Right. How's it feel to be starting in this business? It's been a while for me. Is it everything you expect it to be, Lynn? Is it exciting or not? Is it...
Oh, Gil, it's everything and more. It's truly, seriously, it truly is exciting. And it is, I hadn't expected it to be as exciting as it is. It's not exciting in the classroom, it is exciting in the newsroom.
Jack, you've been working part-time for us for about 10 months, really, and full-time at the beginning of the summer. You still feel this is your career, your goal in life? Is this what you want to do?
Yeah, I really hope so. I enjoy it. I love every minute of it. There are the good times and the bad times, but...
like any job.
Yeah, I think the good times far outweigh the bad times. I enjoy it.
Ross, what about you? A summer intern, that's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great experience for me, that's for sure. I've learned more in the last 3 months than I could ever learn in 4 years of college, just by doing it. By getting my hands in it, and I think the video, the picture portion is what I've learned the most. How to put a piece of film together, which is like a puzzle, into a story that is understandable to the general public.
Two of you will be going back to school. Jack, I hope, will be staying on with us, but in this business, the job competition is really fierce. What do you see, the two of you that are going back to school, Lynn and Ross, what do you see is going to happen a year from last June when you graduate? What are you going to be?
Well, I really don't know, but I really would like to come back to the Green Bay area. I was born here, and I've worked here in broadcasting and radio last summer as an intern, and I would really like to come back here because I feel I know the people here and I know what goes on in the valley. And
Lynn, how about you?
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to compete with someone of the caliber of Ross Buckberger because I'd like to come back myself to Green Bay. And I definitely want to work in broadcast journalism, so I'll see you next year, Ross.
I hope so. A few minutes ago, we showed you Jack and Ross having a little bit of trouble with what they're trying to say on film. Of course, those of us that have been around a little bit longer have the same kind of problems, but there are other problems as well.
The beans are flowing here at the Seymour canning plant, but the trouble is they can't get enough employees to can them. And according to Phil Sachs, office manager, he's looked for everything and he can't find any.
Chris Ostrowski used to be a pretty familiar face on TV 11 News, and for the last, most of the summer, Chris has been working as producer of our early news, and you don't see her reporting too often. Do you miss that, Chris?
Reporting?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, that's where all the excitement is, the bean. Who else can be attacked by a bean but a reporter, you know?
You know, I was thinking a little while ago that probably one of the toughest stories for you was the Hortonville teacher strike, since you yourself were a teacher, you know. And we were talking with Colin about the complaints we get from viewers, and I'm sure you must have had just a tremendous problem with that.
Well, Hortonville Gill was probably the most difficult story I did have to cover. It kept on going and going and going. You know, you got up at 5 in the morning and you got back home at 10:30 at night. And every night you'd do the best job you can, and every night there were calls. There were calls from teachers who said that you were being biased toward the opposition. There were calls from the administration. There were calls from sides I didn't even know existed.
How do you think you did on that? Do you think you were able to be fair as an ex-teacher? Did you sympathize with one side or the other?
It fluctuated, to be perfectly honest. Sometimes you would feel great empathy for the teacher's cause. Other times you'd see the administration point of view. I felt, you know, I think every reporter wants to feel he's fair. I think I did feel I was fair, but I think the reason was that you get calls from everyone. If you'd only gotten calls from the teachers or only from the administration, it's like if you get it from everyone, you know that maybe you are being fair. At least I hope that was anyway. I tried very hard.
Chris, you've gone a long way since you came to TV 11. You started out, what, part-time, I assume?
Very definitely.
You left your teaching career to become full-time reporter. Now you're the producer of the early news. What's next?
Station manager.
The world, right?
Watch out.
In just a minute, we'll show you some of the people you don't normally see on TV 11 or on any channel. The photographers who shoot our news stories, right after this. Jim Douglas is one of the most unique reporters in the business. His specialty, if you can call it that, is in-depth features, I guess. Over the past 2 years, Jim has presented lengthy reports on childbirth, ballet dancing, and autistics, to name just a few. And he's a one-man crew. He does all his own filming, his own editing, his own writing, and everything all by himself. You've pretty well covered the state of Wisconsin, I think. Is it time that you branch out nationally, or?
Well, I'd like to. Yes, I'd like to carry my camera beyond the state boundaries. That's something that would have to be negotiated with the news director, however, and I think there's some complications there. But there's a fantastic wealth of stories right here in the state of Wisconsin. If I could just get at a finite portion of them, I'd be very, very happy.
This is the tool that you use so well. It's television news camera. It doesn't look like much, really, just a black box with a long lens on the front and Mickey Mouse ears on top. These are the other guys that use this camera, the staff photographers at TV 11, or at least as many as we could get together at one time. Bob Tews, Bob Hogan, and over here, Steve Cassidy. Gentlemen, I know from being with you that the most frequently asked question when we're out in the field is, how much does this thing weigh?
You're directing the question to me, and the answer to that is it's about between 20 and 40 pounds, depending upon which of the cameras we have. We have 5 cameras, and the older ones are the heavier ones, and they weigh about 45 pounds.
It's time for another clue to this episode's mystery picture. Remember, it was something invented in the 1930s. You can get them in a wide array of shapes, colors, and designs. It makes certain activities like driving, skiing, and cycling safer and more comfortable. Originally, it was a technical solution that became a fashion statement. The answer's coming up. And now for the final segment of TV 11 News at Ease from August of 1974.
Known as anybody in the area. When you're out on the street and people recognize you, do you find yourself feeling like maybe a doctor at a party and people ask you to solve their problems on the street?
Yes, but it's changed somewhat in the last year. Now people are kind of afraid to come up to me sometimes. You know, I become the, when I'm out trying to cover a story, sometimes I become the center of attention. And when we first started off, no one was afraid to come up to me and start telling me their problems. But now they're coming up and asking for autographs, and it's embarrassing sometimes. It really is.
We've got a leader. His title is news director. Our boss, his name is Walt Zimmerman. Well, you know, we've had a little fun tonight, and part of it has been serious, and that seems almost like that's TV 11 News.
Well, yes, it is TV 11 News. No, that's right. Because the news is, I think, most often, most newscasts that we've ever watched, I mean, most all of us who work at TV 11 News feel that most newscasts are a little bit too constricting. They don't take into account the wide range of things that can happen to people, the kinds of things that can happen that excite people, and the kinds of things that depress them, the kinds of things that give them great joy, and the kinds of things that make them very fearful, the concerns, and also all the happiness. And that's really what the news is about. It's about the human experience. And so the wider you can define news, the better off you are.
So almost anything, huh?
Almost anything can be news. I think so.
You know, you've got about, I guess, 17 or 18 people on your staff. Do you ever find yourself feeling like Lou Grant?
Well, yeah, because the news people are kind of like zoo animals. You know, they're very high-charged, high-powered kinds of people. They thrive on competition, and just by the nature of television, I think they're all high-profile kinds of people. They enjoy being out front. They enjoy addressing the camera. They enjoy addressing people, and I think that's why they're all so different. I mean, you've seen that tonight.
There's one thing about our staff that interests me and puzzles me. We're all fairly young. What happens to the old reporters? What happens to the middle-aged people in this business? Do they burn out quickly?
I think that's probably true. I think a lot of people in the news business have to go on and do something else once they're past a certain number of years in this business, which is really a very short period of time. I think people who work in television news are much like football players and professional athletes, because they expend so much energy, so much time, so much devotion and concentration to their job that they just simply can't sustain that for a long career.
Yeah. Well, you know, a little earlier tonight, I promised that we'd show some of our mistakes, and we're going to do that. It's a little embarrassing at times. You know, we all try to be professional, but we do make mistakes, and I think this is the time, if ever, to put them on the air. So before we close for the night, I want you to pay close attention to what you're about to see, because I don't think you'll ever get a chance to see it again tonight.
Joe hearing, sorry, Jim, just keep going. Are we running still? A secret John Doe hearing into prostitution in the Fox River Valley will begin here tomorrow morning. I don't know why I screwed that up. Stop. Secret John Doe hearing will begin here tomorrow morning.
Go. Prosecutor Tony Martinque.
Has come as a lengthy investigation into the result of... No, it's come after a lengthy investigation. Stop that thing.
The timing of a request is unfortunate because the Green Bay Visitor and Convention Bureau and the Packer Hall of Fame Committee are just weeks away from making an announcement that they will build a special Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame to suitably display all of these mementos. I can understand that Packer coaches who follow in divine...
Prosecutor Tony Marcinque told me this is the most shocking... Prosecutor Tony Marcinque told me this is the most shocking crime he's been involved with in taking over the job of...
District Attorney Joe Carver, forget it. There you go. We got it.
Baby talk.
Yeah, baby talk. Okay, Tom. Tell me something. When you left home this morning, what'd your mom say to you?
Want anything to take to school? And I said no.
Kind of blew it, partner. You were supposed to tell me that. Elizabeth, try it again, okay? Remember about going back to bed?
District Attorney William Carvo from Winnebago County. I'm sorry.
30 years ago, when Bud Shutter started working for the cemetery, a section of this fence cost $175 to replace. Now it's up to $500 and still going up. And the cemetery can't get any insurance. And I want to do this again.
Okay, Chris, the camera's rolling. Chris? Okay, fellas. Tell me something, Tom.
What?
How'd you feel this morning when you got up and you knew you had to go to school?
Good.
You felt good, huh? You weren't tired?
Well, yeah, I was tired.
How come you're tired?
Get up so early in the morning.
What time did you get up today?
You mean this morning?
Yeah.
7:30.
Well, how come you got up that early?
Because everybody's saying that I had to go to school at 7:30.
Yeah. So what are you going to do tonight when you go to bed? What are you going to sleep in?
I'm not in my bed.
What are you going to be wearing?
Maybe dinner.
You forgot, huh? Terrific, Tom. You're terrific. Okay, we'll get someone else here. Remember when your mommy told you to go back to bed when you got up this morning?
I thought you meant right.
No, we'll do it again. I'll ask you again. Okay? What did your mom tell you this morning when you got up?
Go back to bed.
Why? You had to go to school today. Why did you want you to go back to bed?
How? She didn't want my brother to get up.
She didn't want your brother to get up. Well, how about you?
Well, it only takes me a second to get dressed.
It does? Well, how come you told me a little while ago that you're going to go to bed tonight with your clothes on so it wouldn't take so long to get up tomorrow?
I know.
Yeah, but how come you said that if it only takes a second?
Because I don't have any clothes on. It only takes me a second to get out of bed.
Is this confusing to you, Tom? It isn't? It's confusing to me.
A secret John, what? Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh. The secret John Doe investigation will be held here tomorrow morning in conjunction with prostitution in the Fox River Valley. I don't want to do this. Now let's just quit for a minute.
WLUK, TV 11, Green Bay.
Well, that's the way it was in 1974. At the beginning, I told you all three TV stations began providing local news and weather the very first day they signed on the air. But how did Green Bay television news evolve into what it is today? This next feature, provided by WBAY, will help explain.
At 7 p.m. on the night of March 17, 1953, television came to Northeast Wisconsin. Often running, Channel 2 offered live programs and commercials. Captain Hal, the Quarterback Club, and Colonel Caboose all had sponsors determined to try out this new phenomenon.
We in the news department here at WBAY-TV are quite excited. We have received delivery of a new Oricon sound-on-film movie camera.
Within 2 years, WBAY was on the air with news, sports, and weather.
We don't have much wind today. What do you think?
In 1957, the first live broadcast on location. As years passed, technology changed dramatically, from black and white to color, from film to videotape to digital and high definition.
There's no doubt about it. We grew up as a kid. The noon show was must-see TV. We grew up on a farm, and you shut up during the noon shows. That's when the farm markets were on.
Mike Austin, Channel 2's farm specialist, brings you the only complete agribusiness report in the area.
And then it was just the station, and I still think it's that way.
And it's all thanks to the station's pioneers, both those on the air and behind the scenes.
Rex Marks, Chuck Ramsey, Les Sturmer was a guy, Bobby Nelson. If I had $5 every time somebody said, "How was Bobby Nelson before he passed away?" I'd have been a rich, rich man.
Good evening, friends. We are pleased to have you join us.
A legacy now spanning nearly 7 decades. And while a lot has changed technology-wise and with the tools we use to gather the news, other things have not.
I'm just trying to carry on that tradition of the people before me. You know, the Chuck Ramses, the Les Sturmers, Joe Schmitz, guys like that, Bobby Nelsons, that kind of blazed the trail for us to be where we are.
It takes more than just cameras and equipment to make a television station work. It takes people. Engineers, secretaries, on-air talent. They're all dedicated to bringing you the best television you'll ever see.
Action! People! Action! People! Action! For the people! For the news! To Power Action News! DJ!
It's time for the answer to this episode's mystery picture. It was invented in the 1930s. You can get them in a variety of shapes, colors, and designs. It makes driving, skiing, and cycling safer and more comfortable by blocking glare and ultraviolet light. It was a technical solution that became a fashion statement. And they are a cost-saving option for people who wear prescription glasses. Are you ready for the answer? It was clip-on lenses. Well, that's going to just about do it for this episode. But before I go, I thought you might want to know the rest of the story about Green Bay television history. Ever since all 3 of the first Green Bay TV stations, channels 2, 5, and 11, first started broadcasting in the early 1950s, they remained the only TV stations in the market for 15 years. Then, on August 1st, 1968, a TV station in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin signed on the air. KFIZ, Channel 34. But the TV station's life was only 4 years and 3 months long. KFIZ ceased operations on November 30th, 1972. At about the same time KFIZ was going dark, as part of the public broadcasting network, WPNE TV 38 was launched on September 12, 1972. That's how it remained for 8 years and 3.5 months until December 31st, 1980, when WLRE Channel 26 was launched. After a change in owners on October 3rd, 1985, the station's call letters were changed to WGBA TV 26. And then there was WXGZ TV 32. It was launched on March 7th, 1984. 7 years and 11 months later, on February 14th, 1992, WXGZ went dark due to bankruptcy. But TV 32 was relaunched once again in 1995 with new owners and new call letters, WACY. And lastly, Channel 14. It was launched the same year as WXGZ. Channel 14, originally known as WSCO TV, was launched on February 22, 1984. Then, in 1998, Channel 14 was sold to Paxson Communications and becomes WPXG. Less than a year later, the station is sold again and becomes WIWB, branded as WB14 and later Wisconsin's WB. After more changes in ownership, in 2010, Channel 14 finally becomes WC, WF, or the CW14. Well, there you have it. Green Bay television history in a nutshell. And that's this episode in a nutshell. And thanks for watching this nut. In the next episode, the Wayback Time Machine is going to be taking us back in time over 100 years. And you'll see rare WLUK TV11 news clips from a historic newscast in 1972 featuring Stanley Siegel. If you keep watching, I'll keep them coming.
Fun to tickle your tongue with Fruit Stripe gum. Tickle your tongue with Fruit Stripe gum. Each pack has different tickly Fruit Stripe flavors. Cherry stripe, lemon stripe, orange stripe, lime stripe. It tickles your tongue. It's fun.
It won't tickle my tongue, Zebra.
It does. Tickle your tongue with Beech Nut Fruit Stripe gum. It's fun.